All right. Well, hello and welcome back, Ramblers. We got a big milestone this evening. We have made it to Ramblestream episode number 60. That's over 2 years worth of Ramble streams. We don't do them every Monday, every week, but we've made a pretty good run of it, and some of y'all have made it for just about every single one. So it's good to see many familiar faces in the comments as always, and it will be very good to be joined this evening by a seasoned Ramble streamer, Multifarious. I know all of you all will, if you've been on here even once before, you'll recognize that name. He has been gracious enough to join us on the Ramble stream this evening to share a little bit about his background, how he heard about Janus, and some of the rambling activities that he enjoys. How's the volume? Let's start before I go any further. Dan Rademski, thank you very much. Sound is there. All right, he can answer the question before I even asked it. All right, so far technology is holding with us here. Yes, welcome to the Ramble stream. If you're an old hand, you know what the story, you know how this goes. If you're new to the Ramble stream, and I hope that many of you are, we like this to be as much of a two-way conversation as possible. I and Multifarious happen to have the benefit of a camera and microphone on our side, but you all have a keyboard, and we look forward to, if you have a comment or a question, please, we really look forward to hearing back from you. Comments on this are what, it's the only way I know that you're listening. Yeah. We'll go through the formula. If you don't have anything especially profound to say, tell us what your handle is, your name, handle, where you're viewing from, what you ramble with, whether it's 4 wheels, 2 wheels, or even maybe 1 wheel, 6 wheels. And if it's got a name, tell us the name. If it's a Janus, tell us the model and serial number. And last but not least, tell us what you are sipping on this good evening, this good November evening. I'll go ahead and get started. As I say, Richard Worsham, founder and designer here at Janus Motorcycles. I'm in Goshen, Indiana, at our fabrication shop in an old paint booth. If you hear any grinding or hammering in the background, a couple of our crew are down here. Jonah, who does assembly on pre-assembly and assembly on all of your old motorcycles, is customizing. He bought a chassis and he's chopping it up and making it into a new and wild shape. He wants to have the frame rails go over the fuel tank. So a couple of the team are down here helping him to work on that over the winter. It's really fun to see them working together on that after hours, so to speak. Richard, in Goshen, Indiana, I ride a KLR 650 and a Halcyon 250 number 68, cream with gold pinstripe. And I am sipping on a nice Janus 450 tin cup of water. Cheers to everyone. All right. We'll take a quick look at some comments here. We got Tom Lathrop up in Wisconsin with quite a stable, including 2 Janus motorcycles. Eric Green dialing in with Outlaw from Washington, drinking milk. Very nice. Confed Yank, another standard. We'll have to get you on the stream here sometime soon, even though you don't have a Janus yet. He's got a Harley, sipping some brand of cola, and you saw a Griffin in Raleigh. All right, well, that could be yours, my friend. Bob Benstead from Sturgis, South Dakota. Orange juice, replacing his Himalayan with a new 450 Himalayan tomorrow. Very, very nice. John Garrance, Arma, Kansas. Big thank you to Justin and Mitch for helping me with a change order from upcoming build Halcyon 450 number 356. Great team you have there. Jim Beam and Coke. Cheers all. Charles is in from the Eastern Shore with a whole gaggle of Janus bikes as well. Mark Stevens from Westland, Michigan with Halcyon 250 number 643, and Jim Beam. Von Spruitt asking on the status of 317. I'll have to check in on that for you. Riggedy Alps from Massachusetts. Cheyenne and Spirit. Seltzer water by the fire. Cheers. Cheers. All right. So you're going to have to bear with me this evening. I am going to try and do my best as a host here to include all the comments and bounce back and forth, but I also want to give plenty of time to Multifarious. He's waiting in the wings now. And so I will try and interject with comments. If not, I'll at least post them up on the bottom of the screen, and we can take a look at them. Trying to manage this. We have more and more comments coming in, and also good content. So it'll be a balancing act. But first and foremost, we have a poem. And this is one of my favorite poems. I always say that, but this really is one of my favorite poets and poems. And it's also, I didn't have to think more than about 3 seconds when I thought about what would be the right poem for this evening. We have, well, you'll hear about it, but last week we talked about the myth of Alcyone and the kingfisher. And we have a Multifarious with the name he's chosen for his bike and some of his other hobbies. Made this poem immediately came to mind. This is a poem by the amazing poet Gerard Manley Hopkins called As Kingfishers Catch Fire. He's a master of alliteration and just a rich sound. You can just listen. You don't even have to care what the poem means, although that's wonderful too. As kingfishers catch fire, dragonflies draw flame. As tumbled over rim in roundy wells, stones ring. Like each tucked string tells, each hung bell's bow swung finds tongue to fling out its broad name. Each mortal thing does one thing and the same, deals out that being indoors, each one dwells, selves, goes itself, myself it speaks and spells, crying, what I do is me, for that I came. I say more, the just man justices, keeps grace, that keeps all his goings graces, acts in God's eye what in God's eye he is. Christ, for Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs and lovely in eyes, not his to the Father through the features of men's faces. A lot going on there. One of my favorites. All right. Well, without much further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Multifarious himself. Welcome to the Ramblestream.
For not the first time. Can you hear me?
For not the first time at all. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. There may be, just for folks listening, I think there might be a slight delay in the connection. So if there's a little bit of a lag, it's okay. Technology hasn't forsaken me yet. So anyway, it's Multifarious. You've been on this stream. I mean, I don't know, going quite a ways back, and you'll. Oh, we lost him there. Let's see if you can get him back on again. There he is. There he is. Quite a ways back, and we'll dig into that a little bit more. But tell us a little bit about, well, your background, what you enjoy doing, and how you heard about Janus. Just give us the whole spiel. I'll let you steer us.
Okay. Yeah. You had asked for people to give you some reason to be on or to volunteer as guests, and I spoke with a gentleman in Kansas City that operates the new list of owners.
Yeah, Joel.
Yes. Yanda?
Yep.
Okay.
Old man.
Who I recognize, obviously, from the stream, but I spoke with him a little bit and just told him, my situation is different than a lot of guys. Yeah, a lot of people that are on here that have Januses are, you know, on their 20th motorcycle. I'm not that guy. I actually was not a particularly big fan of motorcycles growing up, and love cars, love speed. When I was a young person, my dad raced cars prior to having us and was
Really?
forced to stop when when they adopted my brother and I. So at a very young age. Um, and they're great people. I feel bad that my dad didn't get to continue racing because he loved it. But he raced a couple of, he was a dirt track guy, raced a couple of 40 Fords, and he had an old Henry J, which was pretty cool, racing dirt tracks. I didn't see any of that because when they had kids, my mom was disinclined to let him continue to race cars. But it was a car life. Like he was super into cars and operated a Volkswagen, a foreign car repair place. My
Oh,
first
really?
car was a
Cool.
66 VW Bug that I turned into a Baja. We got a hold of one and it had a crumpled front end and, natural for Baja body kit. So that was a lot of fun. But I think I bought it when I was 13 and
No
worked on
kidding.
it and got it going. So
That was my first car too. A
technology,
72 Bug was my first car.
yeah, they're great. And I grew up driving sticks and loving that. But when we were real little, before we ever got into cars, Dad got us both go-karts, and we used to run around. And the sensation of speed, of a go-kart. It's not a particularly fast vehicle. The one we had, it was a lawnmower motored, but nice. I think unsuspended, but slick tires and speed. And
Yep.
if you carry too much speed, it let you know. It's great. So that part was really cool, and so I always enjoyed that aspect. Um, and then the familiarity, part of the appeal of the Janus is the familiarity of air cooled, manual transmission, carbureted. Like there's a
Yep.
lot of tech there. When something went wrong with my 66 Bug, I fixed it. That was what you did.
And you could
There
get to
was
it
no
all. It's all right
computer.
in front of you.
Yeah, no computer to hook up to. And does it have its disadvantages? Yes. When you're driving in the winter, a defroster is really cool. That's a nice thing to have. So,
Yep.
anybody that, as you probably know, living where you live and having a 70 Bug, like you kept a scraper in the car because sometimes you had to scrape the inside of the window. Like that's just how it was, right?
Yeah, in
But
Virginia they have inspections, and one of the requirements to keep your car on the road was it had to have a working defroster, and the only way you could get
define
past that
working.
was yeah,
I mean,
exactly. You just take it to the guy who will just pass it. Is what it comes down to.
yeah, I mean, it would work eventually if the car
Yeah.
sat still and wasn't driving
Right.
and you
Yeah.
kept the revs up. Anyway,
Yeah.
no, it was a lot of fun. The Baja Bug especially was bad with the defroster because the engine's hanging out the back, but I never overheated, you know.
You're right.
So that was a lot of fun. And like I said, not particularly a motorcycle guy, but kind of introduced to the ethos of enjoying, you know, speed as it comes. Not speed for the sake of speed. You can always go faster. It doesn't matter what you drive. A guy that drives a funny car could get in a rocket and go faster. Like unless you have unlimited funds, you're never going to get to the ultimate, like most speed you can have.
Right.
And I'm not interested in that. I don't, you know, I like the sensation of speed. There's some cars. The old Lotus 7 was a car that just, it wasn't crazy fast, but I mean, it won a lot of races because it handled like a go-kart, and
Mm-hmm.
you have no more like visceral sensation of speed than a car like that. Or I
Especially when you're
think you
that
talked,
close to the road.
yeah, you were talking about Morgans.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that you talking about Morgans? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the Morgan three wheeler, like that's not a crazy fast vehicle, but my God, would it be a ball to drive around in. And I think, I don't know what they are now, but I looked at those back in the day, and I mean, back in the day, not that long ago, they were $40,000 cars.
They're more than
You
that
know, and
now.
it's not practical. You
No.
know, it's not something you can use for anything. It's just for fun. Your bikes
Yeah.
are way cheaper than that. And it's,
Yeah.
you know, when people talk about value and dollars, and like, buy what you want, spend your money on something you want, and be happy with it. There's no, you know, I
Mm-hmm.
just, if a guy wants to spend a gob of money and have a big cruiser bike and make a ton of noise and whatever, that's good. They should do that. That's wasn't appealing to me. Part of why I didn't care about motorcycles that much. Um, but I was online. I, you know, saw an ad for your bikes or saw a video about your bikes, and I don't know, they really caught my eye. I found them really appealing from a visual perspective. You know, and enough that I researched more about it. Like I said, wasn't particularly into bikes. Wasn't like, oh, I'm going to buy one of these. It's just like, that thing's pretty cool. I'm gonna check that out. And I don't, whether you know it or not, people with a little bit of a addictive personality, those configurator deals on the internet, like, forget about it. That's just a terrible thing. I I put together, I don't, probably 100 Aston Martins on theirs, and you know, just
There was a car. There was a car company in England that I was obsessed with as a boy. I was very similar in a lot of ways to you. I was very very interested in cars and not interested in motorcycles as a child, really
yeah,
until my teens. And there was a British car company that, I mean, it's very similar to what we're trying to do, called TVR, and they
yeah, oh yeah,
basically,
yeah,
yeah. So
the
TVR,
Griffin,
I was
and those
yes,
cars were
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, well, the
Like,
Griffin name, I was thinking, but like TVR, I think it started with two cars kind of like stuck together, the front end of two cars. Trevor Wilkinson, the founder, TVR, but they had a configurator, and I remember when I first the internet was still like starting websites, and it took ages for each image to
yeah,
load, but I would sit on my dad's computer and like build those TVRs. So much fun. Yeah.
I think
Anyway,
they were
sorry.
one of
Go
the
ahead. Keep
first.
going.
I think one of the first car companies you could buy in that, like the chrome illusion color changing paints, like
Yeah.
as a standard color or
Yeah.
optional color. That's crazy. Yeah, TVR is a crazy company. I'm pretty into European cars and old US cars. And my dad actually applied for a job with Carroll Shelby before they got us
No
as
kidding.
kids. So, like,
Wow.
cars pretty deep in the blood. But having played with the configurator and having developed an interest in consuming your content, the web content's great because it's pretty real, which is great. Um, you know, I started at video one and watched through all of them, and was watching your live streams. And we were talking about this a little bit right before, but a long time. I think looking at it maybe 4 years ago, started doing that, and been involved in your streams for a long time, commenting and stuff. I don't know how far back I've been commenting, but I've been watching for longer than that.
I think I was pretty sure you already had a bike like years before you had
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. You were confused when I said something about my bike because you're like, you've been watching, you know. Yeah, I remember that in the stream. Um, but, you know, I'm interested. I was curious. I bought a key ring, a leather key ring of yours, black, and basically would tell people, you know, I bought the key ring. I'm not sure I'm going to buy one. And then later I was telling people, yeah, I bought the key ring. Now I just have to buy a $10,000 key. So I think I told Woody that when he showed up. I got the key ring. I just had to pay for the key. Um, but but I'm a delivery guy. I don't spend a lot of money just for the fun of it. But I buy things I like, and I like the things that I buy. And so in that time researching and watching and stuff, it got to the point where I'm like, I think I want to go to Janus and check it out. Go to Goshen. Um, Beautiful town, by the way. Really fun little town. My wife and I walked all over your town, looking at architecture and whatnot. There's a lot of history there, which is really cool. And we met the people that made them, and that was really fun. And I think we got some pictures to share at some point from that. But that was a determining factor. And then that was June of 2023. In October of 2023, well, in September, I signed up for a class, which I took in October. So I wasn't licensed to run a motorcycle when I came there. I couldn't test drive anything but I wanted to see how they fit. And I said something that I think a lot of you people say to you, which is, I'm surprised how big it is.
Yeah.
It's a full size bike. You think that a small bike, you talk a lot about small light bike and stuff. Like it's a motorcycle. It's a full size motorcycle. It's light, which is fantastic from my perspective. Mountain biked a lot in the 90s. I don't look like it now, but I mountain biked a lot when I was in college and after. Um, and I really like that, that kind of riding and stuff. So there's a component of that. I actually have a really cool old Breezer bike, which has a super retro look and really fun, cool bike. I like old stuff. I like old type things and things that are fiddly that you got to work with and mess around with and stuff.
Yeah, we were talking
So,
about like things that involve before this. We were talking about things that involve taking care of them. It's like almost when you have a kind of responsibility. Yeah, he's got the same pen. Where's my Lammy? There's a Lammy.
yeah. Um,
um,
yeah, the
Tell
Landing
us a little bit more
Spark.
about that.
Yeah, and I like this is a U.S. company that did a Kickstarter. They make it's a machined aluminum pen with a copper barrel and a titanium German nib called from a company called Bach. But cleaning them, like I've got, I don't know, 35 ink jars of different colors and stuff. I do artwork. My degree's in art actually. I'm BFA in painting photography and minor in architecture and art history. So I'm
No kidding.
pretty into that. What's that?
I said, no kidding. Architecture and history, great.
Yeah, yeah, architecture. I had a couple of years of architecture, and I was had mentioned to you in an email that we stayed at the Frank Lloyd Wright Hotel and the Park Inn in Mason City for our anniversary a couple of weeks ago. Big fan of Frank Lloyd Wright. But anyway, that yeah, we talked about fly tying. I'm a fly fisherman, big fisherman. That's my thing. That's where the Multifarious comes from. We had I have a fishing YouTube channel and was trying to describe. So many people are like bass fishermen or trout fishermen or this or that. And the multifarious was sort of they called me on the channel multifarious fisherman because I fish for everything. Not everything. I'm not saltwater. I live in the dead center of the country, so no
Yeah.
saltwater. Not much for that. Doesn't really interest me. I have a lot of buddies that travel and do that, but we travel all over the U.S. messing around and you know fishing for a lot of different things. I love to fly fish. Love to fly tie. We talked about
What is
bonsai
it? What is
trees.
it about bonsai? Yeah. What is it about that, like fly fishing, as opposed to other forms of fishing, that is appealing?
So it's, you know, fishing. I'm in the fishing industry and I have been for 30 years. And fishing has gotten so tech centered and stuff, and you can still go fish without it, but boy, your success rate is benefited from some of the technology. But there's still that analog aspect of having you and a rod, a stream, and quiet and peace, and um, you know, being with the great blue heron and the green heron and the kingfishers and everything. You see about any kind of wildlife you could imagine. You see when you're
Mm-hmm.
out there. You see it from a boat too, a lot of it, and it's fun no matter how you do it. But I really like the aspect of fly fishing and that more personal, rod in hand, feet in the stream.
It's got a romantic quality to it too. I
It
remember,
is.
like, I was just looking when we were first talking. I looked in my drawer and I have my first fly reel. I don't know why it's sitting on my desk, but I think it just captures my imagination. I don't think it works anymore, but uh, it captured my, as a kid, I was fascinated by it and took an Orvis class. And then I don't count myself as a fisherman really. I mean, occasionally, but there's something about the activity. Like I
Yeah.
took my daughter over to a fly tying course last year, and we got to tie flies together. And
Nice.
I don't know there's just something that's so like enjoyable about the whole process. It's like, one of the things we were talking about before is like, for me, one of the activities that's therapeutic is knife sharpening. Like, now I don't set
Yeah.
out to just do it for that purpose, but like part of having a really cool pocket knife is taking care of it, and that's, I almost get more enjoyment out of that. Of course, you get even more enjoyment because it's a functional thing that you do for a real reason. Of course, the same is true with fly fishing. It's not like you're trying to
Right.
handicap yourself.
No, but catching a fish on a fly that you made, there's a little more to that, right? Than going to the store and buying, a hula
Absolutely.
popper and catching a bass. That's fun too, but there's an aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hot rodding, customizing, developing a relationship with a vehicle is not dissimilar. Having, we talked about samurai swords. Uh, something very Japanese about the idea of, you know, taking a tree from nature and putting it in a pot and having to, like, bonsai are as much a responsibility as a pet. Like you gotta feed and do something with that tree as frequently as you have to feed and play with your dog. If you're a
And
responsible dog owner.
Jeremy, the customer who's a
Yeah,
bonsai, I mean, we went out and visited him, and I got to ride with him, and we had a blast. But one of the things that he really impressed on me is that the great bonsais, you didn't grow. You're
right.
just a caretaker
Yeah,
for
100%.
he'll have one that's already 50 years old or
Yeah,
older, and
or
then he's going to have to
300.
pass it on to, or 300, pass it on to someone else. It's
Yep.
incredible.
Yeah, you're not in possession of it. You're merely a caretaker. Same way we talked about samurai swords, but that's very much that same way. The metal that they made katana and Japanese swords out of is not a stainless metal at all. So you have to care for them. You have to boil them. There's a responsibility there, and some of them are genuine masterpieces and pieces of history. And you can't put them in a closet and not look at them for 2 years, or they'll be gone. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that idea of having the bike, maintaining the bike, there's a YouTube channel, a guy that does automotive stuff. Vice Grip Garage is his channel. The guy's name is Derek Fieri, and he was talking about starting a Model A, and he referred to it as the secret handshake. Like because there's spark advance, there's fuel, air, that you adjust that stuff from the passenger, from the driver's seat of the car, and it won't start if you don't know what you're doing. It will not start for you. And
Yeah.
your Janus bike's a tiny bit that way. You have the
Yeah, we know.
the you got to know, right?
Yeah.
You got a kill switch, you got a petcock, you got the choke, you got to feather the throttle. Like there's a certain aspect to that secret handshake that you got to know to operate the bike. Especially now, I rode yesterday. It was cold.
Mm-hmm.
But to get that thing started and running is different than it is in June, you know?
Yep.
So that
Yep.
part of it's really cool. I enjoy it. I really like writing. I took the class in October. I passed the class. I don't know what most people's experience is with the class, but I took the class with 10 people and 5 passed it. So I don't know if that's normally that way, but it was a struggle. I didn't have
Wow.
any particular trouble. I'm good with paper tests. The writing part was more difficult for me because I I have a lot of familiarity with manual transmissions, but the bikes are different. You
Yeah.
don't slip a clutch in a car, like that's bad. If you're
Mm-hmm.
slipping the clutch very much, you're going to smoke that thing. But in a bike, you got a friction zone. You got to kind of stay in, and I struggled with not using the clutch as kind of an on-off switch at first.
Yeah.
But and took we took the class on. I took it at a Harley dealership on like a 350 Scrambler Harley, which was a
Yeah.
400-ish pound bike. And that's just different, you know. It was a new
Yeah.
experience and some, but I liked it enough. Like after I took the class, like, yeah, I think I want to do it. So we ordered the bike. I called, talked to Mitch. Mitch is super cool. Um, I had ideas about how I wanted to do. You'll see with the bike, but I wanted to do it a little different. And called him and I said, "Hey, can you do this?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Can you do this?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's an extra charge, but we can do that." And you know, um, they teach people at companies to say yes. Like, try to say yes. And I felt like that's what Mitch was doing. Was like, okay, that's a different idea, but yeah, we can do it. We just need to figure out how. So
I
that
don't
was
know if
fun.
you are the first one to have had a different color frame or not, or maybe you
I think
do you
I
know?
was the first one to order a bike with the frame painted a different color than the tank and stuff. The thing I wasn't sure of is if you could do like an American blue feather or American blue pinstripe, because your pinstripe isn't the same color as the
Yeah.
frame, but mine is. And yeah, he's like, yeah, we got paint, we can do it. You know, just found a way, which is really cool. It's your fault. My bike color is your fault partly. I had several different ideas for uh, what color I wanted to do. And during one of your Ramble streams, you showed a picture of an old Triumph. And I think it was a blue and white Triumph, but it had a blue frame. And I went, oh, I like the blue bikes, but I didn't know that
No
I wanted to
kidding.
have an all blue bike.
Uh-huh.
But I wondered, like, maybe if I do the frame in blue, it'll accentuate the thing I like about your bikes, which is the fork and the featherbed frame, and that calls that out. But yet I can still have like I wanted to get I love the charcoal gray bikes. I like the vintage red bikes. I thought about getting a flat black bike, but all motorcycles are black. And my wife's big thing was nobody will see you. She was super worried about that. Well, that
Yep.
they ain't gonna miss that blue frame for sure. I haven't had anybody not see me yet on the road, but time I know that's
Good.
coming.
Good.
So I'm pretty cautious. I'm a pretty cautious driver, and that sensation of speed for me is not, you know, 70 miles an hour. Honestly, it was really windy here, and into the teeth of the wind, 55 was doing pretty good, and I was doing full tuck for
Mm-hmm.
that. But I was on a highway, and traffic was going 75, so I was going as fast as I could. And I went one exit to another exit. I knew it wasn't going to be a long run on the highway. I just needed to get to the next road, which wasn't um, heavily traveled. Anyway, a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun and ranging. I think my longest bike's got 550 miles on it. I've got 550 miles on me. Longest I've taken in a single shot, I think, is 84 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So having fun. I can't
And
ride
you
all the time. I have a full-time job and all that, but
and
and
you
I'm
just
still
did your
fishing.
500
So
mile and you're still fishing. Yeah. You just did your
yeah,
500
I'm
mile
about
service?
550, I think, right now. After I did 44 yesterday, so somewhere in there.
Cool. Cool.
That's fun.
So do you so you how often are you out fishing?
I mean, my wife would tell you every day, but that's not true. It's a lot. I fish a lot. My job is fishing, but I do a lot of it. And
So
it, year to
do
year
you guide?
varies. We've had what's that?
Do you guide or what's how is your job fishing?
I work for a big sporting goods chain that I run the fishing shop there for 21 years.
Okay.
So I sell fishing. Before that, I was a manufacturer's rep, and then before that, I was in fishing retail. And I taught a fishing class at the university here, and I've been doing fishing. I've written, I don't know, a handful of articles, and I've been on the radio somewhere
No
between nine
kidding.
and 12 times.
Cool.
I'm verbose, so they like me on the radio.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So you ordered you kind of came from not being so much of a rider
Yeah,
or
not at
really at
all.
all.
Yeah.
Um, so did you have any trouble convincing your significant other or what was the story there?
Um, I think by the time she let me go to Janus to see the bikes, I think she was kind of thinking this is probably something that we're gonna do. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
I kept telling her, I don't know yet. I haven't even ridden one. I want to get on a bike. I want to take the class, see if I like it or not. The sensation. I rode on somebody else's motorcycle when I was a kid, and it scared the shit out of me. I didn't like it. So I didn't know that I was going to enjoy it, but it's a lot more fun when you're in control of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Well, cool. Looking at some more comments here. I've been kind of cycling through here, so y'all, if I didn't call you out in person, or at least people will see your question.
I saw Confed Yank.
Yeah, he's been on there as
Yeah,
always.
yeah,
He's gonna have to get a Janus one of these days, or maybe we'll have him on the stream without one. That would be even better. He can talk
right.
about
You should
his quest.
make him ride one first, and then do a stream immediately when he gets off the bike.
There we go.
Yeah,
Hear that, Confetti Yankee? Got to get up here. We'll
yeah.
make it happen. Perry Roberts, a new name. First I thought it said Perry Ford, but no. I like the bikes a lot, kind of old school. If you ever need someone to ride your bikes around, kind of like a demo, Henry Ford would let his employees off on weekends so they would drive around so folks could see the cars. They probably had to pay, I'm sure. Anywho, hoping all there was a wonderful Thanksgiving. Yeah, likewise. Back at you.
Demo day.
Very cool. Demo day, yeah. Come for a demo day. Yeah. Well, cool.
Oh, by the
Okay,
way,
go ahead. Oh, nice. Repping. I need to take a leaf out of your book and start repping my own brand here. Real quick, while we have a little intermission here, we got Grant has asked me some Ramblestream notes. We are, speaking of turkeys and Thanksgiving, we have some specials going on through Janus. First one is free shipping site-wide with the secret code gobble gobble, spelt just like it sounds. That's on all merch, parts, gear, and swag. We also, number 2 is 15% off of all parts this week, auto applied or call in to order with Danielle. And last but not least, Confetti Yank, get $1,000 off your $450 plus $500 off all $250 inventory. Already have a bike? Contact us for special extra discount for your second or third or eighth. How about that?
if
All
if I
right.
remember right, I think Confed Yank is a carburetor guy, so he might be a 250.
Yeah. I think he'd like a 250. Yeah, I agree. Let's see if he has any comments on this. He says, howdy, Multifarious. And I absolutely would love to ride one. Great. Looking through the comments here. He says, I wanted to make it to Wheels Through Time raffle drawing, but my work schedule is weird. Did they already have it? I didn't. This is the first year in like 5 years I didn't buy a ticket. I'm always hoping I'm going to score a 1930s Harley. Let's see. We got more. He's all over the comments right now. I've done nothing of architecture. Justin, fighter plane. All right. Okay. Well, let's take a little excursion over to take a peek at some of photos from Multifarious here. Let's see if I got this queued up. All right. So tell us a little bit about your, dig in a little bit more to the colors, Multifarious.
So the gray bikes definitely stood out to me. I'm a very big fan of the charcoal gray. When we were there, looking at the bikes, you see everything. And you got a lot of bikes and a lot of colors in your shop. I ran around with the camera and documented some of what I liked and all of that. But standing out specifically is that one. And you had a blue bike that was, I think, being cleaned and prepped for going to its owner.
Let's see if I can pull that one up. This
and
one.
Yeah, that one there. And I just really, the color combination caught my eye a lot. So I kind of kept coming back to that one. There was a gray one and that vintage red. That was gorgeous. I noticed I don't know if they're in the stream or not, but I noticed somebody did a gray tank with the vintage red frame and the vintage red feather. That was a gorgeous bike. Really came out cool. I'm still pleased with my gray and blue and the Kingfisher deal, but which is a gray bluebird. But that bike's beautiful. That gray over red and the vintage red is just a beautiful color.
Fernando says, my first bike was a Suzuki 50cc. I don't remember the model. We're talking 30 years ago. My Halcyon 250 is going to be my second bike and first as a true adult. Awesome. Mark says, 20th motorcycle. I take exception to that. I'm only on my 15th set of wheels, and that includes 4 scooters. Awesome. Well, let's see. What else we got here?
I'm still on my first.
Yes, you're still on your first. Great. There's that blue. Another blue one.
I think it's cool that you got the bikes out front of your shop. That's such a neat look when you drive through town. I assume you get a lot of attention locally.
Yes, we do. We have a nice showroom, but so many folks are remote that a small percentage of actually sales come through the showroom. But yeah, we do have lots of local owners, and it's really nice if they can drive in and get their bike serviced, or just come hang out, or drop off donuts, or whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I think if somebody's seriously considering a trip to Goshen and meeting some of the people that make the bikes, it's really cool. It sold me a lot.
And Confetti Yank says, I'm a fully carbed guy.
I remember that from a previous stream.
There we go. Steve Q says, the Wheels Through Time raffle was on 11/23. It was a fun time. So I take it you were there, Steve. Awesome. I did not get this was probably the year I was going to win it. I missed it.
It was probably the one.
Riggedy Alp says, I agree. Vintage red is a beautiful color, though I may have a biased opinion. There we go. Awesome. All right. Let's see what you got. What's you got next for us, Multifarious? Here we go.
One of the cool things you do is send in-process build photos, which is really neat. And unique thing I noticed one of the days that my bike was on the stand, you had 3 blue bikes being built. And that 450 in the corner, that flat blue, that thing is really neat.
Yeah, that's a cool color. You can barely see it in this picture here, but yeah, there is you can do the same color. It's the same color yours is actually, but it has a matte finish on it.
Right. Yeah. Same color as the frame on mine, that American blue. But I remember in one of the Ramble streams when you were showing builds that you had pictures featuring that bike, and it's really cool looking. And then of course your Flying Z behind me there wasn't even, I hadn't heard of it. I just noticed it on the stand behind mine in my build photos.
That was the first bike with skirted fenders.
Yeah.
Confed Yank says, okay, hear me out for 2025. Janus, red on tank and fenders with black on sides with gold feather. It'll match the 2025 WTT raffle bike. Nice. Wheels Through Time. Cool.
Confed, if you call Mitch, he'll rig it up. You just got to call him and tell him what you want.
Yep. And there she is.
Yeah, that's built. That's the blue over gray with the blue
and
feather.
You got a different color. The number plate, the pedestrian slicer, is also in color.
Gray and blue, yeah. I will probably eventually get that cream pinned, but I didn't get it done yet. I need to get paint. Another cool thing that you do is when you deliver the bikes, you got this Woody comes out, wheels the bike out, and runs me through how to start it and do all the stuff. He was really cool. He's a super nice and generous guy with his time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if I remember correctly, I think running through Iowa maybe clipped a turkey and busted the window out of your van, or not out of.
Was that the
on that trip.
Bashed the whole windscreen in. Yeah, there was glass in the van and turkey feathers.
Yep, he caught a turkey on the way over to my house. Well, not my house, but on the way to Nebraska, which was funny. That's my wife's ride. She's had that for years. Um,
So she already was on two wheels.
she was ahead of me. She really likes that little scooter. She's a high school teacher and she works 6 blocks from our house. So she would run that to school back in the day. Um, then had a period of time, she had some health issues and wasn't riding it as much, but we get it back out and I got it, did a little work on it, got it started back up because they don't like gas to sit on 4 or 5 years without running. They don't like that.
Nope, especially your carbureted bikes. Is the
Yeah.
little Cosmopolitan, is that, or Metropolitan, is that carbureted still at that point?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
It
It's a
is.
carb
Okay,
bike. Yep.
cool.
And
Those are such
I don't know what it is about where I live, but getting somebody to work on a Honda product around here is tough.
really no
Yeah, I
kidding.
don't know why. Um, we got a Harley dealer that won't touch anything that, you know how that is.
Well, I
Um,
know how that goes. Yeah.
but then there's a place that sells Kawasaki Suzuki, and they wouldn't do anything on her scooter. They wouldn't do anything for my bike. But I found a
Hmm.
hot rod shop that actually did. I did everything on that bike except tear the carburetor completely down. Um, and God bless the people that designed your bike because I can get to everything. I can't even put a charger on her battery without taking half the bike apart. It's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know
that's
why
the
people
benefit of
want
having a
plastic.
small engine.
Yeah, well, I mean, her engine is smaller than yours, but it's all covered in
Yeah,
plastic. Everything on there is
covered up.
covered up. It's like
Yep.
like all the bikes you see out there. It's all covered in plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan.
Yep. Yep.
I do have a problem, a little bit of a problem. I was going to get this. There's the blue feather kingfisher,
Fantastic.
which belted is a gray blue bird. We see them around here quite a bit when I'm out on the water, which I'm on quite a bit.
And I think I shared one image of a belted kingfisher last week, the
Yeah,
gray
yep.
one.
There was,
Yeah.
and it's not blue and gray. It's blue gray, but you get the concept.
Yeah. Get the concept.
And I did the cream because I wanted people to be able to read Janus motorcycles on that dark blue
Right.
or on that blue. I thought black would hide. Put it in a little car show. We have actually a big car show in my town. Doesn't have a ton of bikes, but that's not all of them by any means, but has some categories for bikes. I think I got third in my category. You
Nice.
might like the winner was a fully restored C90.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
it's pretty neat. I like my bike better though.
Spencer says 250 1123 delivered yesterday at 11. Put on 170 miles already. Nice.
I'm glad he commented. His bike is a Fibonacci number, and I'm jealous for it.
Nice.
1123.
All right.
Sorry.
So now I think we got some. Oh, here's another good one with some historic
So
iron.
this is cool. One of the nice things about this bike is everyone that I run into is in love with it. And there were two teas at the Dairy Queen in my town, and I pulled in just to talk to the guys that owned it, and they were more interested in my bike than I was in their cars. That was really cool. And one thing I don't understand, God bless them for it, but almost everybody that comes over to the bike is like, "Do you care if I take a picture of your bike?" No, why would I take? No, but
It's
everybody
not
asks
illegal.
permission to take a picture. What's that?
Yep. Yeah, it's not like it's illegal to take a picture. It's not.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. We've got some state lakes and low travel, low speed limit roads. Really got my first probably 50 miles in the state lakes there just because limited traffic, limited exposure to traffic and stuff, and I was learning how to operate it and manipulate tight corners and rode some sand, which is really not what that bike is built for.
No, but you got some knobbier tires, but yeah, it's not designed for that.
I got the knobbies with the intent that I knew I was going to be riding on. We have Nebraska during or after World War II. Every state had a make work project, some sort of government funded project, and Nebraska's was building section roads. So almost the whole state's covered in a rigid square network of roads, a lot of which are either minimum maintenance or gravel. So I
Mm-hmm.
got that because I didn't want to be limited to paved highways. I want to be, you know, able to ride
Yeah.
wherever. But it does great on pavement with those knobbies.
Let's see what's next. We got some fish. No, one more shot of the bike.
So for whatever reason, there's probably 10 blocks of brick pavement roads in my town still, and I ride those things almost every time I go out. I don't know why, but riding that bumpy brick road just feels like what this bike should be on. And that sprung seat works really good. I don't
Great,
know if,
good to hear.
I don't know if it's a featherbed frame or the sprung seat, but like that road, just the rhythm of it and the way it feels under you, it's like I find that really nostalgic to ride. And there's some old homes
Mm-hmm.
on those roads, and I included the picture because that's the kind of thing that's just really fun. Some of this, you know, older neighborhoods, people are super into the bike when I'm riding around there.
Yeah, very cool. Good plug for a hardtail motorcycle.
Yeah.
There we go. So we're gonna get to see some fishing. Here's some fishing stories. Walk
Well,
us
the
through these.
concept was just to illustrate the idea of um, multifarious, like fish for a lot of different things. And of course, that's fly rod, rainbow trout. That's Arkansas. Um, I need to find a way. I need to talk to Charlie or figure out something myself for putting a tube holder so I can carry my
Yeah,
fly rod. I do have a backpack that'll carry it, but as of right now, that's what I'm limited to on the bike.
you should be like Lawrence of Arabia, who had his silver cane. He attached it to the front forks? You could have your fishing rod on the fork
There you
of
go.
your Janus.
I don't know how that works with a Janus fork though.
Well, they don't slide up and down, so it's even easier than on a telescopic fork. So we have to figure out some kind of mounting system. Yeah,
Right. So it doesn't impinge on my ability to steer.
right. That yes, yeah,
Yeah, another fly rod, big bluegill. It just, again, a couple of photos to illustrate the fact that we fish for a lot of different stuff. There are two fish in here. I'm curious if anybody will know what they are. The largemouth
got a
bass. That's
bass
local.
caught on a fly rod or
That is not
okay.
white crappie. That's a State Lakes where I was riding around. That's not from my bike. That's just a picture from riding around the State Lakes or being around the State Lakes. You talked about rambling when I talked to you before, and this is one of the methods of rambling. My wife and I have kayaks, and we just go cruise various lakes out um, to get exercise and for fun and peace. And
I don't
the
talk
bike,
about canoeing or kayaking enough, but canoeing has a long history of rambling, especially in even people that would go canoe camping and long excursions. I should definitely build that into the repertoire.
yeah, it's definitely one of the things I think is interesting too. I talk about my dad being he's still with me, by the way. He's 95, and
Oh,
he's still
wonderful!
around. My mom is 93. Um, but my dad built a sailboat. He
Really?
bought a plan for a plywood, like
Yep.
two-person sailboat and fiberglass and built it and sailed it around. He's 95. He's still working on a plan for a second boat, although um, that we may be limited. I might have to help him with the sawing. I don't know if we're going to get that one
Yeah.
done.
Cool. Still kicking.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wiper. We can roll through them pretty quick. It's not particularly pertinent. This is a rambling. So this is Western Nebraska. Again, we kind of talked loosely about the concept of rambling, but this I go out here and trout fish, and there's a lot of meandering roads, paved and unpaved, out in this part of the state, and some really beautiful areas.
Yeah.
The sandhills of Nebraska, most people that drive through Nebraska really think it's boring because the interstate goes through, along the Platte River, which is a flat river, it's just a flat, it's been flattened by meandering of the Platte River for whatever, thousands of years. But when you get more towards the Badlands and South Dakota and stuff, there's some gorgeous country.
I'll have to make sure Charlie hears all this because he's a native Nebraskan.
Yeah, yeah. He's Eastern Nebraska like me. This is one of the fish this is caught almost within view of that last photo.
So it looked like a trout, right?
It is a trout, and it's a little bit unusual species. It's a hybrid.
Really? Well, tell me what it is.
So that's called a tiger trout, and it's a mix between a brown and a brookie
Oh, so it's actually a mix between
hybrid.
the two.
Yeah, it's a
Interesting.
cross between a brook trout and a brown trout.
Huh. Is that normal?
It can happen in nature, although it's pretty unusual. Brookies tend to be in the cooler upper reaches of
Yeah.
streams, and browns tend to be in the lower, warmer. But in a lot of areas, browns, as most people, I don't know if everybody knows it, but brown trout are introduced. They're not from North America initially. They're European fish, and as they become more and more invasive. Trout guys don't like you to say invasive because they like their trout, but
Yeah.
as they become more and more introduced in areas outside of their natural range, they interfere with natural populations.
Got it.
Sorry, I'm boring people with fish stuff.
No. This is great. This is great.
That's what I do.
I'm searching for a good shot of me. I can't.
On a trout.
Good one of me on a trout. Yeah.
This one incidentally was definitely a fly rod fish.
Let's see if I can share a picture real quick. Well, let's keep going through. Well, let me see if I can share. We're running out of time here, but I'll.
Yeah, I have no idea what time it is.
I will bore people here with one of one of. There we go. This is one I caught on a fly. It's one of my flies actually. Yeah, rainbow
Nice.
On the Little Elkhart River, not too far from here.
Nice.
All right, let's get back to the
Elkhart makes me think of the conversation we were having in the stream about Elkhart Lake.
Elkhart Lake. Yeah. Oh, what a great.
This is an example of one of the trout streams in Nebraska. Shallow, but they run open all year. There's no freezing on these. The geothermal water comes out of the ground, out of the springs at 50 degrees, and as it runs towards the lake, it gets down into the low 40s maybe, but it runs open water all year. So we'll do this in January. We'll do it in July.
Wow. Huh.
That's the other fish that I wasn't sure if anybody would know. It's a pretty unusual one. They're very uncommon.
I mean, it looks like a pike or something like. What is it?
It is a northern pike. It's an actual northern pike, but it's a color phase variant of a northern pike called a silver pike, and they're extremely rare.
Really?
Yeah, they're not a different species. It's like redheadedness or something. It's just unusual.
Okay.
But no markings on it. They're kind of weird. But one of the lakes I fish has an unusually high abundance of silver pike in northwest Iowa called Okoboji. We muskie fish there. It's Nebraska, so I got to have a picture of a catfish.
Yep.
Anyway, trout and muskies are my two primary interest fish, but I will fish for literally anything.
Very cool.
That's not a particularly big muskie, but it had gorgeous markings. So.
Wonderful. I got one question here. Jeff says, I have to ask, did you get one of my Jet Dragster t-shirts or did all the employees squander them? I have got one in my size. So thank you very much, Jeff. The graphics on that are classic. Let's just say he sent us some really cool old or not old racing, fancy graphics all over them T-shirts. So
Nice.
Charles says, "Cool little trout, rambling somewhere with a pole and a Kelly kettle. Sounds like a good time to me. What's a good pole for that? Yeah, Kelly kettles are one of the. I stole that from fishing. They're those Irish little kettles that you can boil water on the side of the stream while you're fishing. So definitely rambling material.
There's a writer named John Garrick from Colorado that has several good books that are fishing themed. He's a fly fisherman, but he talks about watching a stream for 45 minutes while he's making coffee and drinking his coffee. Before he even starts fishing, he's looking and watching what the fish are doing, what the bugs are doing.
Mm-hmm. Marvelous. Confed Yank says, I mean, with a Janus, you can strap milk crate to the book rack, a couple of PVC pipes to hold rods, and a cooler in the saddlebag. You can load up plenty for a fishing trip. Awesome.
Yeah, true.
Charles Sloan going into Michigan for trout fishing. Surprised you're actually talking about this. Wonderful. Okay, well, we are just after 8 o'clock. Go ahead, Multifarious. Wrap us out.
One of the, I was planning on getting saddlebags and dolling the bike up with a bunch of gear like that, but the more I look at it with that open rear wheel and just the tool roll, I don't hardly want to change the look of it. It's just so like old looking and cool. And when you cover all that stuff up, there's a lot of bikes out there with saddlebags, but there aren't too many that look like that bike with nothing on it.
Well, you could have some kind of detachable fishing rod holder that just for when you need to.
Yeah. I'll have to figure something out. But again, like I said, I got a backpack too. But I bought the tool roll almost right away after I bought the bike because I rode to the gas station to get a pop, and I'm like, I got to wear a hoodie or something. It was June, and I had to wear a hoodie to the store, so I can't bring a pop home on my bike because I didn't have any hands free to carry it. So I got that tool roll. I like the look of that. That's really cool. And so you can have I got my license and my park permit and all that stuff in there.
Yeah. Perfect.
What you got to have.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your time with us, telling us a little bit about yourself. I think also bringing it to my attention that the link I had that's in the description of the video didn't actually work to sign up if you want to be part of the Ramblestream. So if anyone's watching that is interested in sharing a little bit about your maybe some of the rambling things you do, as you can tell, this does not have to be about motorcycling. There's countless different kinds of things that feed into this, and I'm really interested. Obviously, we talk about motorcycles plenty here, but things like canoeing or fishing or sailing,
fountain
pens or samurai swords or all these other things. I would really be interested if anyone else wants to join us. It's easy to do, and there's a little link in the video description down below where you can sign up to do that. So I'd love to hear from some of y'all. So overall, though, Multifarious, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an hour well spent, and I've had a lot of fun as always.
I definitely had fun. I'll have to see you at one of the owners rallies, maybe this coming year.
I hope so.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, folks, we will catch you all. I'll catch you all next week. Well, is it next week? We'll be broadcasting. And I wish you a happy Thanksgiving in the meantime. All right. See y'all later.